One of the questions that I heard at the June board meeting was, you know, is there a decent bed for a new parking lot in the south there? And talking, and I did this one myself. I just called the guy from Florida. And if it's not, they put in what it's supposed to be before they ever put the asphalt down. So that was one of the questions. I spent a little time walking around over there trying to get the lay of the land, and the little behind the band room, I don't know what you want to call that parking area, it's kind of chopped up and whatnot. The one thing that does concern me, and this came out of the risk management piece that we dealt with at this conference last week, you know, is workers' compensation claims. The highest number for a school coming from parking lots. And that's where my I don't know, okay. And so having a hard surface there would undoubtedly make snow removal better. Are those good enough reasons for you to want to do the project? That's entirely up to you. And then the other thing about, as long as I'm on a roll here, the other thing is the basketball court back there. I know it, I'm told it doesn't get used a ton by necessarily school, but it is something that is used by the community. And I look at it, and it's cracked, and it has grass growing through it, and it looks like a second-rate facility, in my opinion. And so I would ask you to consider doing something about that. Okay, I'm off my pedestal now.
I also looked at the basketball court at the elementary school, and it's the same way.
I haven't looked at that one.
You haven't looked at that one? So I wondered if, you know, maybe that would be a better...
I did walk out there, actually. You know what I would do, Sue? Oh, I'm sorry. You know, we've got the playground issue coming up in the coming months. Let's talk about that at the same time.
Okay.
That makes more sense to me. It needs attention, agreed. So there you go. There's my opinion. Go however your heart tells you.
My opinions on it haven't changed all that much. I would be neutral on resurfacing the basketball court. My concerns about the parking lot, the new parking lot south of the middle school, is I have concerns about base. I have concerns about size of the bid of this, but that's really not my biggest concern. My biggest concern is the fact that supposedly that parking lot was created in 1976, and it hasn't been surfaced since then. I don't know why 36 years later, whatever it is, we think we changed that, I guess, considering when it was created it was for high school parking, and middle school parking is not an issue as far as day-to-day usage. I went and looked at the parking lot this afternoon. We'd had some rain. There's a puddle, one puddle in the middle of it that's 5 foot by 6 foot, another puddle that's 2 foot by 2 foot, right next to it, same spot, same area. So as far as it being a mud pit, it's not, in my opinion. I would be fine with buying some white rocks, limestone to help redefine it, and making it a better parking lot than it currently is. But I don't really want to spend the $37,500 on upgrading it to a higher level. Something that would have to be, in my opinion, has to be maintained then as soon as you do it. My opinion with that is, I don't know what the snow schedule was last year as far as clearing that, but my guess is it had to have been one of the last things that the school probably cleared off, and maybe didn't even get cleared off unless there was going to be an event. My concern is, if you pave it, you're going to want it cleaned off, and that's going to cost you every time it snows. That's my concern with that. The blacktop, the small parking lot by the kitchen entrance, looked at that today. It's another thing that hasn't been paved since they did anything there. And it's my biggest concern with that is, since I've been on the board, I know it's been tore up 3 or 4 different times, at least. As far as there's a lot of, the sewer line goes through there, storm sewer goes through there, the gas lines go through there. I think our electrical entrance, or at least part of it, is in that area. And yeah, there was a sinkhole that just got created, or it actually created a long time ago, but just showed up. And my concern would be, if we had done this, let's say 10 years ago, when I first got on the board, it would be now pieced up chunks of stuff everywhere just because you had to have that happen. Yes, that's my 2 cents worth, but that's what
I did check with some of the guys that dug it up and asked questions about it. One of the things that I guess I'm concerned about as we're going around this, and not that I have anything against blacktop, but the storm sewers that are being fixed to the east of the school, they're being fixed because of stormwater runoff. You need to leave some permeable place for the rainwater to go. So if we could dress it up, because there's utilities under, maybe we need to dress it up with some white rock and limestone or something. I know it'd be easier to move snow and stuff if it didn't have that. But part of our problem is weeds this year, but there's weeds all over my yard too. It's because it won't quit raining. So, that's, if we could spray some of these and stuff, it would look better. I don't have a problem with hard surfacing it, but we would run into some utility problems, I think, in the future. So, and I didn't realize utilities went there either until I called them tonight and asked. So, Brent actually called me on the phone, and then I called the city guys and said, "Okay, tell me where they are." So,
and most of them come in that way or around that area.
Yeah.
So the utilities go through the back parking lot.
yeah, by the band area. So, and that's where the fiberglass comes in for the internet. I mean, all that fiber optic stuff is there. And that, they broke tile when they put the fiber optics in, and that's one of the reasons they had to dig it out to fix the tile.
But not where the white rock is now, or that one. You're not talking.
Not the south one, the one by
You're
the
talking about the
band
one behind the band area.
Yeah.
Just the
Band
band,
and the
just
lunchroom.
the band. That's where a lot of those utilities come.
I'd say those are all great points, and so I would say vote however you want to vote. Those are, I'm not arguing with anyone,
Right.
Because I understand what you're saying, but I would ask that if we're not paving it, that okay, let's doll it up and make it a better, at least a better place.
And I have no problem with that. I think White Rock in the one parking lot, the new parking lot, I think that's, I don't have a problem with that. I think that it'd be great to put some White Rock in there. That's my opinion. Right now, the boundaries are not very well, there's grass going up through the, I think usually during the fall, if I'm correct, I think they come and spray, Dave or whoever's in charge of that will spray, because they know where it used to be. I mean, basically, there used to be posts that would find it down there.
Well,
So
we can better define it.
Right. I think the White Rock would help that. It would certainly help with the base. It certainly does not, a year from now or 10 years from now, that's not going to deter anything at that board decision. I am scared or concerned about ever doing anything too permanent behind the man room just because of the utilities going in and out. So that's, we can put White Rock in there or whatever anybody would suggest, but I get concerned about it. And maybe that's why it's never happened. I don't know.
The north part, now, while I was driving around, he's talking to me on the phone, I'm driving around to the north side, and that area where the ICN room is, the lunchroom is in really bad shape. So maybe that north parking lot is what needs to be addressed as far as fixing it, so we can do some stuff out of there.
I tell you what, a consideration is if you're content, would allow us to clean the place up with White Rock, whatever the guys tell us that we need to do to make that. And if you want to look at more information on the north, let us bring back some information on that in the future. It probably isn't going to happen it probably isn't going to happen right now. But let's let that unfold. And I don't want to take up all your time rehashing everything for the second month in a row. I just want some direction, and we'll take it and run with it. And I'm giving that direction.
Well, we just don't want to.
I did think you brought up a very valid point, Phil, about the liability.